Good day! We are Group 2 and we will be presenting our analysis of the song Anak by Freddie Aguilar. First off, let's get to know the background of the artist and the song. Ferdinand Pascual Aguilar, more commonly known as Freddie Aguilar, is one of the best musician-songwriters of the Philippines because of his contribution to hits such as Bayan Ko and Anak, which gained him much recognition. He was born on February 5, 1953, originating from Isabela, Philippines. His song Anak was released in 1978 and it was a finalist for the inaugural 1978 Metro Pop Song Festival held in Manila. It was a song based on Freddie's own story, as at the age of 18, he left his school and his family and went to faraway places without anything with him, only bringing his guitar. He fell into gambling and realized his mistakes 5 years later. He then composed Anak, returned to his family, and asked for forgiveness for his ignorance. The song went on to become very popular in the Philippines and eventually abroad. It generated 100 cover versions, was released in 56 countries, and in 27 different foreign languages.
Now, onto our song analysis. In the first verse, the composer of the text assumes that the reader or viewer has loving parents that are not abusive or irresponsible. The reader or viewer holds the view as children of their parents. This can be seen in the lines 7 to 10 of the first verse. It mainly talks about the abundance of joy our parents felt when we entered the world. They were able to provide us the basic needs, attention and love the best way they could. Moreover, the lines, "Di malaman ang gagawin, minamasdan pati pagtulog mo," and "At sa gabi na pupuyat ang iyong nanay sa pagtimpla ng gatas mo," displays how far our parents are willing to go for our sake. Sleepless nights are worth it if it means keeping us fed and comfortable. The composer also used metaphor to define how we see our parents. At ang kamay nila ang iyong ilaw. This could imply that the moment we are born, we become dependent on our parents as they will serve as our guide and role model growing up. However, there are aspects of the text that can only be applied to situations alike, since not everyone has the same story. For instance, there are some viewers or readers that cannot relate, especially those who are unwanted, neglected, or abandoned by their parents. This may not be comforting to those who went through a difficult past they do not wish to be reminded of. Nevertheless, the composer asks us, the readers, to understand what our parents went through in raising us, and most importantly, to appreciate their importance in our lives. It portrays a version of reality wherein parents have a strong bond and unconditional love for their child. To them, there is nothing in this world worth more protecting than their young ones. The beginning of the child's fervent desire for independence against his parents is captured in the second verse. Although the child's parents disapprove of this desire, they were unable to stop it, knowing their child was old enough to make his own decisions. This displays how most people desire to be immediately liberated from their parents' guidance once they reach adulthood. This stanza illustrates the parent-son sudden change in life. In order to satisfy his selfish needs, he started to ignore his parents' advice and transformed into a stubborn individual who just does what he wants. This exemplifies the fact that even if you don't try to grasp how things work, you won't be able to fully appreciate and benefit from them. This stanza demonstrates that the son never thought to consider what his parents had done for him or their sacrifices on his behalf. His actions were driven by the fact that he merely wanted to do what he wanted without considering how it would affect his relationship with his parents. This somehow shows the reality that once a person starts to focus on his own selfish needs, he starts to become oblivious as long as he gets what he wants. In the middle of his wonder as a person who is significantly different from who he was when he was younger, he has lost his normal state of living his life. He engaged himself in a lifestyle which is wholly contrary from the lifestyle which his parents wanted him to be in. Here, realization hits him, and so the first person who he approached was his mother, who was greatly in tears, feeling devastated in how he was live his life for a moment. The mother even asked him as to why he put himself into that dangerous state, when in fact, the mother and the father fulfilled their obligation in taking extraordinary care for him. Here, he found himself in deep remorse for what he has done. He even lacks knowledge on how he brought himself into that state. Hence, it is important to note to really undergo the long process of discerning before deciding on what kind of life you would want to live. Here, the songwriter repeatedly reminds every person who may come across to listen to his song that whenever you put yourself into a situation where your happiness is temporarily available, it is deemed reasonable to say that time will come when you will be living your life with full of regrets, and thus it will haunt you regardless of how you live yourself at present.
Now that we are done with each stanza, let's move on to the remaining guide questions. There are lines that are repeated, particularly the last lines. These are, pagsisisi ang sa isip mo't, lalamang mong ikaw'y nagkamali. We believe that these lines are repeated because it is meant to bring an impact to the audience. It makes the song remembered as a form of realization when the audience is emoting and resonating to these specific words, feeling the emotions of regret and guilt. The Anak realized his mistakes and that no matter how much we push away our parents, at some point we will always go back to them, and no matter how independent we become, we will always be dependent on them somehow. The musical instrument used in the song Anak was a guitar, which adds a very emotional feeling to the song. Freddie composed the song Anak brilliantly, and the guitar made it sound more profound and tranquil, adding more importance to the lyrics rather than focusing on the intricacy of the various musical instruments. The gloomy strumming of the guitar does well with the overall feels. Additionally, the guitar firmly asserts its presence in the song. All in all, the guitar moves a lot of emotion from the song onto the listeners. The rhythm of Anak is moderate, played in andante or a steady walking tempo at 77 beats per minute. The beat and pace of the song is fit for storytelling, as the lyrics can be clearly enunciated by the singer and understood by the listeners. The melody is easy to sing, inclining the audience to sing along, as the rhythm does not contain unexpected accents. Furthermore, it alludes to a positive emotion, perhaps a flashback of treasured memories. However, from something dreamy and soothing, the music transitions into something intense. We believe that this is also a contributing factor as to why the song receives so much love aside from its lyrics. From the very moment we are brought into this world, the first time we cry, and the instant we open our eyes, the welcoming presence of our parents is there, full of love and affection. Anak entails how timeless, unconditional, and boundless a parent's love is for their children. parents will always be there to understand the incomprehensible and to make room for forgiveness, no matter how flawed and difficult a child may become. The song depicts reality, where in the process of growth, a child will try to drift away from the grip of their parents. At present, a lot of people are obsessed with the idea of freedom and independence. However, in the pursuit of freedom and independence, some tend to forget the guiding principles their parents taught them. Even though parents are there to constantly remind us, some get annoyed by that continual sermon, causing them to be rebellious and astray. However, at the end of the day, when things start to get tough and uncontrollable, with a troubled mind, we will always seek the presence of our parents. Because without the haligi ng tahanan, we won't have a solid foundation. And without the ilaw ng tahanan, it seems like we are walking through a pathway of darkness, lost and confused. Without the guidance of our parents, we will most likely lose our way and take the wrong path. Thus, no matter how far we get, we will always find our way home because our parents will always be there, ready to help and rescue us from the hole we created. That ends our presentation on our analysis of the song Anak by Freddie Aguilar. Thank you for listening.